For several years now here at Voices, we've learned about the benefits of meditation. It's a recurring topic because meditation has proven enduring benefits on mental health, alertness, and well-being, all things that we've been discussing today. But it turns out I don't need to tell that to you. In our own BoF community exit poll, 56% of respondents reported to talking to someone about feeling stressed, which is much higher than with the data that we just saw from Sarah. And actually, 45% of you have practiced some form of meditation in the past 7 days. I'm pretty sure then that Deepak Chopra probably needs no introduction to the Voices crowd. You're probably already aware that he is one of the world's foremost thinkers in the space of whole health and well-being based on a twin understanding of science and spirituality. And for years, Deepak has had a close familial relationship with Carmen Busquets, herself a dedicated practitioner of meditation for more than 2 decades. I know this because, full disclosure, Carmen was an early investor in BoF. And besides business plans and projections, over the years, Carmen and I have frequently talked about our shared experiences with meditation. Recently, I met virtually with Deepak and Carmen to talk about meditation and how it can lead to a more awakened life. Deepak, Carmen, thank you so much for taking the time to join us for Voices this year. This is a highly unusual Voices with you, Deepak, in San Diego and you, Carmen, in the Bahamas. But luckily, technology has connected all of us today to have this very important conversation on meditation and how meditation can lead to an awakened life. But before we get into some of the science of meditation, Deepak, you spend a lot of time, I've got your most recent book here with me, Total Meditation, and you talk a lot about the underlying causes of stress in daily life. Where do these things come from that create stress for us?
So thank you, first of all, Carmen, and thank you, Imran, for having me. Stress is usually defined as the perception of threat. So stress is not out there, stress is not in here, it's how in here deals with out there. So stress usually is blamed on threatening situations when in fact it's your response to those threatening situations, quote unquote, that actually creates biological havoc or biological chaos. Human beings have the capacity to respond at many levels to challenges. The most primitive way is what we call the fight-flight response. So in a threatening situation, we either fight or we run. The second most primitive way is what we call the ego response, where we try to manipulate a situation either by being nice or nasty or stubborn or playing the victim. 99% of humanity behaves like that, so 99% of humanity is stressed. And beyond these two responses, we have something called the restful alertness response, which is the meditation response. Beyond that, there's something called the intuitive response, which is to eavesdrop on context, meaning, relationship, and story. Beyond that is the creative response, and beyond that is the visionary response. And beyond that is something called the sacred response. So meditation takes us beyond the first two survival responses into intuition, vision, creativity, imagination, insight, and healing. That's why meditation is so important right now, because the world is stressed. There are 3 pandemics going on. One is the economic crisis, the second is COVID-19, and the third is stress. And that stress is aggravating both the other crises as well, because stress produces inflammation in the body, which is linked directly or indirectly to both acute and chronic illness. In fact, right now, the people who are getting acutely sick or getting what are called cytokine inflammatory storms, they're totally as a result of stress.
So as you said, Deepak, the past 8 months have been incredibly stressful for everybody. We all have our individual stresses, but this situation where everyone is confined to home, where people are worried about their own health, about the health of others, where people have financial worries, there's so many things adding on top of each other. What does it take for someone to thrive during a period like this? And what role can meditation play in helping us as humanity cope with all of this uncertainty? We don't know when things are going to end. We don't have the answers around what lies ahead. How do we thrive during a time when there's so much uncertainty?
That's a very good question. And if I was to look at the global landscape right now and come up with one word for what humanity is experiencing, it would be grief. Carmen is not a stranger to grief, nor is anyone here a stranger to grief. We've all had loss in our families. As a physician, I've noticed different stages of grief. So the first stage is denial. The second stage is victimization. Then there is anger, resentment, grievances, even hostility, sometimes guilt, shame, depression. All of that adds up to depletion of energy in the body and makes us even more susceptible. Sometimes, and very rarely, people go beyond the helplessness and frustration and the sadness of grief. They find acceptance. There's no choice. We have to find acceptance of what is at the moment. Once you find acceptance, then you find meaning. So in the last 7 months, I've been engaging not only in meditation, but meditation that includes reflective self-inquiry, which includes asking myself questions deep in meditation. Who am I? What do I want? What is my calling at this moment? What is my purpose? And what's my next step? Through gratitude. When you open your mind to gratitude, you feel healed already. You feel a lot of relief, and you can access what we call pure consciousness through meditation. So I think this is an opportunity for us to reinvent life totally. Reinvent the body, resurrect the soul, create a joyful, energetic body, loving, compassionate heart, clear mind, and lightness of being. If we only keep a few things in mind, and this is a moment of phase transition. The old way of doing business in the world is gone. So there's a death, but there's also a resurrection. And that resurrection is saying, let us all work together for a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. And the technologies are there, including this technology where we are sharing our conversation with the world, but there are many other technologies that lead to emergence. Emergence happens when there's shared vision, where there is emotional and spiritual bonding, and where everyone complements each other's strengths. People in the fashion industry, scientists, philosophers, storytellers, entertainers, educational people all come together to find the creative solutions which are happening as we speak.
Yeah, well, it's funny, Deepak, that's a little bit about what Voices is all about, actually, is like bringing people together to learn from different disciplines, to kind of appreciate what we can learn from our differences and what we can learn from people who are, have been trained differently, grown up in different cultures, all of that. Carmen, I know you and Deepak have a long familial relationship, and you also have a long relationship, both of you, with meditation. What personal reflections do you have on how meditation has helped you cope during this period of great stress and grief?
Because of COVID, a lot of my friends reach out to me to give meditation, and I talked to Deepak, and I told him, I'm going to, do you think I am capable of teach meditation? And he told me, remember, Deepak, at the beginning when I was in Switzerland, and I felt kind of uncomfortable, and you just told me, go with the flow. This is what people need. So for me, it has been a time where I have learned a lot about giving service it's incredible. I had gone with the flow. I started doing 3 hours of meditation per day in English, French, and Spanish. I never thought that I could do that in French. And I think it's incredible what comes out from you. And what Deepak says is, I think life has prepared us, the meditation and the fact that we all have been meditating all along through our life. It has prepared us to accept this situation as something that we cannot control immediately. We knew right away this was a learning for the universe. So I had to let go. I don't know about you, Imran, because you also meditate.
For me, the meditation practice, I started with Vipassana meditation about 15 years ago. And I grew up in a culture where my grandfather used to meditate every morning, but it was never taught to me. And I think, that's the kind of next thing I wanted to talk to you both about, which is, I think still when people talk about meditation, it seems for some people to be this kind of new age, hocus pocus kind of thing, but there's actually a lot of science that underpins the benefits of meditation. And Deepak, in your recent book, you explain some of the science behind why meditation is so powerful and how it can take you through those stages that you walked us through earlier. Can you talk to us a little bit about, why, the science of meditation?
So you mentioned Vipassana, which is referred to as insight meditation, these days getting a lot of attention as mindfulness and mindful awareness. So that's one form of meditation. There are others like mantra meditation, and there are others, reflective self-inquiry, transcendence, etc. But they all have the same effect. They bring about self-regulation. So they move from your biological responses, from fight-flight to restful awareness and homeostasis, which is self-regulation. Inflammation comes down. The level of telomerase, which is the enzyme that controls biological age, goes up. We have a study now with the Nobel laureate that showed that within a week, the level of telomerase went up by 40%. We also saw in the same,
Wow.
And we also saw in the same study that genes that activate healing went up, some 17% over baseline, and genes that cause are directly or indirectly responsible for inflammation and chronic illness like diabetes, autoimmune illness, even cancer, they went down in their activity. This is called the epigenetic response. All the hormones get self-regulated. This is on the biological level. But then on a personal, social level, meditation also increases your capacity for empathy, for compassion, for joy, for equanimity, for creativity. And then on the spiritual level, of course, it helps you get in touch with your innermost being, the core consciousness that we call self. So at every level, meditation is healing body, mind, and spirit.
I wanted to remind you, Deepak, the experiment that you did years ago. Remember about the people that were meditating in one room and the other people that were not meditating. And I think it's important that you talk about that study, because it's the first time I understood the importance of prayer and the importance of people meditating in Bhutan or in Tibet, the importance of collective meditation, the importance of what you're doing, with Oprah, and all these like big meditation groups. And that study helped me to understand that even if other people don't meditate, they do you have scientific tests that when you took the blood test of the people that they were not meditating, they still got the benefits out of it. So I would love you to talk about that.
See, one of the tenets of Eastern wisdom traditions is that consciousness is not just in the brain, that the brain is just the localization of consciousness. which is consistent with spiritual traditions, that spirit is one, and then, whatever term you want to use it, the Holy Ghost, Ein Sof, ultimate reality, Brahman, it doesn't matter. But consciousness is one, and then it differentiates into innumerable modes of knowing, minds and bodies and perceptions. So when you go into meditation mode in a group setting, because consciousness is a field that is not confined to the body, spreads and ripples across space and time, it affects other people as well. Your meditation and your prayer affects other people as well. And now there are many studies that are slowly emerging that shows that there is increased brainwave coherence, not only in individual meditators, but it's accelerated in group meditation. It also affects the brainwaves and makes them more coherent in those who are not meditating. So we could be a group of people meditating in a big setting, in an environment, and the stress levels of people who are driving taxi cabs outside, or bus drivers, or people out there on the street, they start to feel better, not knowing why they're feeling better.
It's amazing.
And you've proven that in a real experiment.
There were many experiments like that in the late 80s, and right now there are many more going on. Yes, many experiments that showed that group meditation in Washington, D.C. decreased traffic accidents, decreased crime rate, and everything was affected in the whole city just by a group of people meditating together in a hotel, unbeknownst to the people on the streets.
Still, there's all of this chaos happening. There's change and uncertainty that's rippling through the world, and the idea that we can kind of separate our own happiness or find our own happiness by just focusing on the things that we can control. I mean, how do you think through that, Deepak? That this idea of like finding happiness and focusing on the things that the choices, the lifestyle choices we make, as opposed to the things that we can't control.
So Imran, there are a lot of studies again on social intelligence, emotional intelligence, and social scientists today are identifying what they call the happiness formula. So here it is. Happiness formula is H is equal to S plus C plus V. H stands for happiness. S stands for set point in the brain. So set point in the brain, unhappy people see problems, happy people see opportunity given the same situation. That's set point. Set point is responsible for 50% of your daily happiness experience. And you can shift that just by asking that one question. Instead of asking, what is the problem, what is the challenge, and then asking the next question, what is the opportunity, and leaving it in meditation. That's S plus C. C is conditions of living, which is economic conditions of living. So that adds about 12% to your daily happiness experience. If you win the lottery, you will be very happy in the beginning, but after 6 months it will plateau, and 1 year you'll be back to your set point. The third part of the happiness formula, H is equal to S plus C plus V, is voluntary choices. And every day we make two kinds of choices. One for personal pleasure, such as entertainment, alcohol, sex, food, etc., shopping. Those make us happy too, but only transiently for a day or two. The big things that make us happy are the choices that we call choices for fulfillment. That means we find meaning, purpose, opportunity. But here's the most important thing. The fastest way to be happy is to make another person happy. And you do that by attention, which means listening, affection, caring, appreciation, noticing their qualities, and acceptance, not trying to change them. That's the happiness formula, and we can exercise that right now.
There's a lot of people who might be watching and listening today who've thought about meditation, but for whom it's intimidating or, seems something that they feel like they won't know how to do. How can someone who has never meditated before get started on their meditation journey?
Well, they can start with simple breath awareness, body awareness, observing their reaction to react, putting the pause button before they react, But there are now a lot of online programs with Oprah's help. We've taught almost 10 million people online how to meditate. So one way to access meditation is go on the Chopra app, which is available. It's free of charge, and you're welcome to start your journey through the app.
Great. Carmen, do you have any advice for people who are just thinking about meditating for the first time? You've been meditating for a very long time. What advice do you have for someone who wants to get started?
A lot of people tell me, well, I don't have time. And I say, it's not about time, it's about just do 1 minute meditation sometimes. Just like give 60 seconds to yourself. And sometimes you just have and create that awareness and of having that 60 seconds of silence. Anybody can do it. You can enjoy your coffee and really say, okay, this is great, and tasting, and that experience, takes you out of your mind for 60 seconds. So it's like if you are in a meeting, from one meeting to another, you take 60 seconds in between those meetings, and that really 1 minute that you take becomes maybe 5 minutes one day, and then another day becomes 10 minutes. It's as useful as the 25 minutes that you're gonna take during the morning. And once you realize that you can arrive to 1 second of silence, it's incredible. Some people just say, oh my God, I managed to have 1 minute without thinking and just completely enjoying the coffee. And I think it doesn't take an excuse. It doesn't give an excuse to anybody. Anybody can do it. And I don't know if Deepak agree with me. I think it's a very useful tool to have for our hectic life that goes from one meeting to another.
I totally agree, Carmen. That's amazing what you just said. Even a minute makes a huge difference, and then you build up from there.
Maybe as a final exercise, we could do a little virtual meditation between the 3 different cities that we're in. And Deepak, would you consider just leading a very short, 60-second meditation?
Yes. So wherever you are right now, please sit comfortably. Keep your feet firmly planted on the ground. Uncross your legs. Keep your hands open. And close your eyes and just observe your breath. Just observe your breath. You don't need to manipulate your breath, just observing it, and you'll see that it slows down. Now bring your awareness into your heart mentally, and mentally ask yourself the first question, who am I? Don't try to answer the question, just ask it. Allowing any sensations, any images, any feelings, any thoughts to spontaneously arise or not arise. Who am I? Then ask the question, what do I want? Once again, allow any sensation, image, feeling, or thought to spontaneously come to you. What do I want? Third question. What is my purpose? What is my calling in this moment? Allowing any sensations, images, feelings, thoughts to spontaneously come to you. Fourth and final question, what am I grateful for? Gratitude opens the door to abundance consciousness. Allowing any sensations, images, feelings, or thoughts to spontaneously come to you. And now just repeat your full name to yourself mentally. So I am Deepak Chopra, I am Imran Amed, I am Carmen Busquets. Just repeat your full name to yourself mentally. And now let go of your name and replace it with just a short phrase, I am. Just those two words, I am, I am, I am. No name, no story. And now if you want, replace I am with a mantra, aham, which is the vibration of existence. Aham, aham, aham. Mentally. This should be done for about 2 minutes or so, at least, or 1 minute, and then finally let go of the mantra and just rest in awareness. Just rest in being. This is our fundamental state of existence, just being. From being emerges feeling, thinking, speaking, and doing. But always go back to being. Rest in being. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes.
Thank you. And thank you, Carmen, for your time and for connecting with us in this conversation. Deepak, it's a real honor to have had you join us for Voices this year. I hope that one day we'll have an opportunity to meet in person. And understand you need to run off to a session with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, so I don't want to keep you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Carmen, for organizing this. Thank you, Voices. Thank you, Imran. God bless, Carmen. Give my love to your family.
And thank you.